A woman sits in a hospital bed, staring at the floor. Her eyes are red, tears keep falling, but she makes no sound. In the corner, a policeman stands guard so she cannot leave. The door opens. A doctor walks in carrying a syringe, a long sterilization needle. Without a word, he injects her. This single shot will make sure she can never have another child for the rest of her life. She is not alone. This same hospital has more than 20,000 women on the waiting list for the exact same procedure. Some are dragged in by officials, some are brought by force, some come quietly, broken and afraid. But what really happened to cause this moment?
In absolute numbers, there are 33 million more men than women in China today.
There is a lot going on with China right now.
Chinese Communist Party has announced that Chinese couples, wherever they live, countries
from great-great-grandmother down through 5 generations, this family is a perfect example of China's population crisis.
It's a warm autumn evening in 1979. A young couple, Li Wei and his wife Meilan, are walking home after another long day in the fields and the small factory. Their first daughter, little Xia, is riding on her father's shoulders, laughing at the fireflies. Meilan is 7 months pregnant with their second child. They're tired, but hopeful. Another mouth to feed, yes, but also another pair of hands for the rice paddies when the child grows up. They talk quietly about names. If it's a boy, they'll call him Strong Pillar. Life feels normal. They have no idea that in the next 24 hours, everything they believe about family, about the future, about China itself, is about to be rewritten by a single needle. The next morning, Meilan is called to the village clinic. She thinks it's a routine checkup. Instead, 2 officials in gray uniforms are waiting. One of them speaks without emotion. "Comrade, the Central Committee has decided. The country has a new rule. 1 family, 1 child. You already have your daughter. You must be sterilized today. It is for the good of the nation." Meilan freezes. She is still pregnant with the second child. They don't wait for her to understand. The nurse gives her the injection. A simple sterilization shot that will end her ability to have more children. No anesthesia, no real explanation. Just the sharp prick, and the quiet realization that her body no longer belongs only to her. She walks home that afternoon in silence, holding her belly. Li Wei meets her at the door. One look at her face, and he knows. That night, the couple sits in their small brick house, staring at the flickering oil lamp. They don't speak much. They just hold each other, and wonder what kind of country would do this to its own people. Let me take you back just a little further. September 25th, 1980.
Where advertising is very rare, these are the posters that can be seen over and over again on the city streets, displayed as part of the massive publicity drive that the government hopes will persuade the population to adopt the one-child policy.
The Central Committee of the Communist Party publishes an open letter to every party member and every citizen. China's population is exploding toward 1 billion. Food is scarce. Jobs are scarce. Deng Xiaoping and the new leaders look at the numbers and make a cold calculation. If we don't stop this now, the dream of a modern, powerful China will die before it begins. The rule is simple on paper: 1 child per couple. Urban families get almost no exceptions. Rural families sometimes get a second if the first is a girl, but only after paying a heavy fine and waiting years. Propaganda floods the country. Posters go up in every village. 1 child is good for the mother, good for the nation. Songs are sung in schools. Factory bosses promise bonuses for sterilization. But nobody, not even the leaders, truly knows what the long-term outcome will be. They are gambling with 800 million lives, hoping this one law will be the key that unlocks China's greatness. How did ordinary people react? In the cities, most complied. They were scared. Jobs, housing, and promotions depended on it. 90% of urban couples signed the one-child pledge within months. In the countryside, like Meilan's village, it was different. People whispered at night. Some hid pregnancies. Others paid huge fines they could barely afford. A few women ran away to distant relatives until the baby was born. Enforcement was brutal in places. Local officials, desperate to meet quotas, dragged women from their homes for late-term abortions. Sterilization campaigns swept through provinces. In some counties, the same midwife who once delivered babies was now ordered to perform thousands of procedures she hated. Citizens complained quietly, in letters to local cadres, in tears behind closed doors. But open protest? Almost impossible. The message was clear: this is for the motherland. Resistance is selfishness. Meilan's family paid the fine years later and were allowed a second child, a son, but they lived the rest of their lives knowing they were lucky, while neighbors lost babies, lost health, lost hope. Now here's where the story gets complicated, because this painful law actually worked for China's rise. By keeping the population from exploding, the government could pour resources into factories, roads, schools, and technology instead of feeding another 400 million mouths. That's the number many experts believe the policy prevented: 400 million fewer people by the time it ended. Suddenly, there was a huge demographic dividend, a massive working-age population with fewer children to support. Factories had cheap labor, families had more money to spend, women entered the workforce in record numbers. China went from one of the poorest countries on earth to the world's second-largest economy in just 3 decades. Meilan's children grew up in a China that had electricity, bicycles turning into motorbikes, and dreams their parents never had. Many historians say the one-child policy was one of the hidden engines behind the Chinese economic miracle. For a while, it looked like the gamble paid off. But every story has its shadow. The sex ratio became badly skewed. Millions more boys than girls, because families desperately wanted a son to carry the name and care for them in old age.
From great-great-grandmother down through 5 generations, this family is a perfect example of China's population crisis. There's only one great-great-grandchild. It's a story of pain and loss that could be told at hundreds of millions of dinner tables.
Today, China has 30 to 35 million missing women. The generation of only children, the little emperors, grew up spoiled, sometimes less resilient, and now they are the only ones responsible for aging parents. By the 2010, China faced a shrinking workforce, a pension crisis, and villages full of lonely elderly people with no grandchildren. The very success of the policy created its own crisis. In 2015, the government finally ended it. First 2 children, then 3. Today, they are begging young couples to have more babies with tax breaks and housing help. But the birth rate keeps falling. The damage is done. Meilan is in her 60s now. She looks at her 2 grown children and says quietly, "We survived, but at what cost to the next generation?" So, was this needle, this law, the thing that brought China to its greatness today? Some economists say yes, it bought precious time. Others say China would have modernized anyway, and the human price was too high. What we do know is this. One ordinary evening in 1979, a family walked home dreaming of a bigger future, and woke up in a country that decided their dreams were now state property. The policy is gone, but the scars, the empty seats at family tables, and the aging faces in the villages remain. And China, richer, stronger, more powerful than ever, is still living with the consequences of that single fateful decision. That is how one needle changed an entire nation.
Light on the gray, cold winter breath. My fingers find the middle C again. A ghost of a song, just a hum, just a trace. I try to remember the way we were. Wait for the sound, wait for the sound, wait for the sound. It travels.